Welcome to another video by Stan's Auto Repair. What I have here in front of me is a exhaust manifold with the turbo off of a 2014 Chevy Cruze 1.4 liter. Now this turbo here ended up getting a crack in the wastegate, and the crack went deep enough into right here. This is the oil feed lines. This one actually goes up okay, so here's your manifold, and then this feed line will going up here, and then this feed line down here has a bolt that goes into the block, and then you have your coolant line that bolts into here, and then you got your coolant line up here at the top. Okay, now, and then this right here is one of the rubber hoses that connects to it. I believe that goes to the intercooler. And then you have some more hoses that attach up here. Okay, I will say, if you are replacing this, try to get as close as you can to OEM as possible. If not, if you do get an aftermarket, change this right here, because most of the aftermarkets you will get a code for your turbo for this part right here, because most of the aftermarkets they're not, how was it explained, the vehicle doesn't get the same signal per se when it reads it. All right, and then okay, so let me just get to where I was going at. Let's see, let me get a flashlight. Oh, where'd that go? Okay, so hopefully this shows a little better. Right up there, oh boy, that's a little too bright. Okay, right there, get my finger. Right there is the crack. And if you look down below, let's see if I can get a, right there, the crack goes all the way through. Okay, now let me see if I can, no, I'm gonna try to see if I can remove this, see if we can get more inside of this little turbo and see how bad this crack actually is. Okay, so to get this off, you need to remove 2 bolts, one on each side. It's located here and here, and then you got a little C-clamp, and you can use a regular flathead and get it right here, and then you can pop it right off, because a actual C-clamp tool, at least the one I have, there's no little holes in here for this to hook to. Man. Okay, so if you look right inside, let's see if I can get some light. I don't know how well, but as you can see, the crack goes straight across the wastegate, and the crack also goes inside of the wastegate. So oh, So the crack on this wastegate goes here, all the way here, and goes across here. And I think that's, oh, and it goes, whoa, underneath, right through here. Okay, now, I don't know how well, and this flashlight's just too bright, but the crack goes all the way in. And goes, you can't really see because of the shadow, but it goes back in here and then back. Now, I'm not for sure if I can get this turbo separated from here. I'm gonna work on doing that so we can see how far the crack goes inside. Now, you can get some cracks here, and depending on where they are, you're perfectly fine. But she was getting oil into the turbo and was getting into the converter and literally clogged up the converter on the Cruze. And I had took a temperature, and the temperature of the turbo right here was over 2,000 degrees. I mean, it was a slight cherry red, which it shouldn't get that hot. And the car basically wouldn't run because it literally was overheating because the converter was completely clogged. I wish I still had the converter, but she ended up scrapping that. Okay, so I'm going to work on getting this portion off. I believe I should be able to, and I shall return. Okay, I got it apart. For the turbo vacuum actuator, I couldn't find, I did look up some of the parts, and for this vacuum actuator, I could not find an AC Doco part. It might be a dealer only part that you'd have to call to find out, but I did find it on eBay for around 40 bucks. The star bolts are T30s, and got a little diaphragm, and sometimes the diaphragms ain't the correct thickness on the aftermarkets. And there's a spring, the spring took off on me. I don't know where it went, and also sometimes that spring doesn't have the correct tension, and you'll get a code for your vacuum actuator on some of the aftermarket parts. Okay, and the one with the 3 rubber hoses coming off of it has one Torx bit. It's a T20, and that you can actually get it advanced for $65.79 depending on your area. It is the AC Doco turbo bypass valve, and the part number for this is B403258131 ACD. These are your oil cooling lines. I don't have the actual coolant lines. Those, I don't know what happened to those. This here is your turbo wastegate actuator. These parts fit on Cruze's 1.4 liters, or Sonic's, or I think the Buick Encore. I think that has the 1.4 liter engine in it. This part here per itself is $158.86 at Advanced Auto, and it is also AC Doco. The part number for that is B408784437 ACD. Okay, and if I remember right, the nuts that are on here was, I think, 10 millimeter. I'm not 100% for sure. It's been a while. Okay, this part is replaceable. I was just using the sledgehammer to whack it off, but I ended up getting this crowbar and using this end and whacking it with this around here where it's a little bit thicker, and that came right off. So if your spools get loose, you can actually rebuild your turbo. You don't have to get aftermarket, but you can see the carbon buildup on this, and then the oil residue on it. I'm not for sure how the oil was getting out. Maybe there's some O-rings or seals inside of here and they just wore out and oil was seeping through. But this manifold, you can also buy the manifold separately just in case you get a crack in the manifold. This manifold's still good. The manifold's good, but this part, the wastegate, is not. The wastegate is shot. I don't really know how well this will show up in camera. Let me find it again. Okay. Try to do this two-handedly. Right here is a crack also. And right on the inside, right inside here is a crack, and it goes all the way through to here. Goes all the way through to here. So the crack goes all the way through on both sides. Now some of these cracks are small, but this one is actually pretty big. Now, this part right here I could not find separate, but typically this part's made out of aluminum, and as you can see, oil residue all over that. Oil residue all over where the vacuum actuator goes. You can see oil residue inside there. If I can get the light shining on it, there's old oil residue. And these hoses, they look fine, so I don't think oil was getting in that. So oil was getting where it didn't need to go, which was causing an issue. And these bolts, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. They're all 8 millimeters. One of them is a little bit difficult getting to, so you can get your pair of vice grips. Vice grip, get it clamped on, and then you can get it with the vice grips. That's how I got it apart. So what did this turbo in was oil getting into the wastegate, which was getting into the converter, which over time clogged up the converter to the point to where the vehicle would not run. You can just replace your converter, but over time you will also get it. But the computer through some codes, I can't remember what the codes actually were, and it literally, in a sense, the car stopped using the turbo. So the car, it like shut off the functions. I'm not for sure how it did it, but that's what it did. And the aftermarket turbo, the vehicle did the same thing, but then she had this vacuum actuator replaced. I think it was a dealer part, and it wasn't cheap. And then that fixed the turbo, and then from there out, you could hear the turbo do that nice little whine and whistle under good acceleration. This one, you didn't hear nothing. The car was basically just like a turboless 1.4 because it was losing so much boost. But this video I meant to get to quite a while ago, but I've had COVID 3 times since I did work on this thing, so that's kind of been making my videos a bit difficult to make, because I just ain't been feeling, I ain't had the strength, and you know, getting hit with it. So this last episode of the Cove, I mean, it put me down. But I ended up getting that from my 3-year-old daughter, which she ended up getting it at a birthday party from somebody that was carrying it, because we checked with all the friends and people that have been around her, but she ended up getting it, and then I ended up getting it. Her mom contracted it, but didn't get any symptoms. But let's just say, it sucks. But since I've had it a few times, I kind of knew how to take care of it. But I had to take my daughter to the ER because her temperature got up to 103.6. I was able to keep my fever temp around 101, 102. For an adult, that's not too bad, but for a 3-year-old little girl, 102, 103, you know, you need to get it checked out. But other than that, this is pretty much all the parts, except for a couple that you would need. But more than likely, if you're going to be changing anything, you'll be doing the turbo wastegate actuator, the turbo bypass valve, or the turbo vacuum actuator. Because see, that diaphragm, there's a little spring that's normally in there, but it skyrocketed somewhere. And then this is where the air, the boost from your exhaust gases gets spun at high, you know, and then get brought in here into your intake, and then you pull fresh air through here. It's a little bit different than most turbo setups I've seen. Normally you just got your turbo, then you run a pipe and whatnot. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope this helps somebody. You know, hopefully it helps you, you know, kind of like just get what you need to fix your turbo so you can get your Cruze or your Sonic or your Buick back up and going. All right, and thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, if you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment box, and I will see you all in the next video. And if you haven't, subscribe. That really helps me out. And I am working on getting a P.O. box. The vote did come back 67%, so that's good enough for me, and I'm not for sure. That's a gasket of some kind that goes somewhere. But a lot of the parts, I will say real quick, as an input, you can get a lot of these parts at Advance. AutoZone doesn't carry half this stuff, but Advance carries a lot of it. Advance does have most of it in AC Delco, the oil cool lines, the coolant lines. They pretty much have all that. They didn't a few years ago, but they now do, and most of this that they do offer is AC Delco. And that's typically what you want to stick with, is AC Delco for these cars, because they are very, very picky. All right, but remember, if this right here goes out on you or cracks and you start getting coolant leaking from it, or oil, because one side's coolant, one side's oil. I'm not for sure what the inside is. I'd have to tear this apart, and I'm not really sure how I would get this apart. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and remember, if it's broke, fix it.